Thus, Bhagavan Vajrasattva refers to the state of Vajradhara whom the Buddha takes in tantras. As the way to attain his enlightened state is through wholehearted commitment to a spiritual teacher, Ashvagosha begins his work with his homage. Bowing in the proper way to lotus feet of my spiritual teacher, who is the cause for me to attain the state of glorious Vajrasattva, I shall condense and explain in brief what has been said in many stainless tantric texts about wholehearted commitment to a spiritual teacher. Listen with respect. All the Buddhas residing in the land in the 10 directions have prostrated 3 times each day to tantric masters from whom they have received the highest empowerments. Is there need to mention that you should too? In general, there are 3 types of empowerments or initiations: causal, pathway, and resultant. The first is to ripen your mind stream. The second is an actual path of practice through which to gain enlightenment. And the third is what brings you directly into the actual liberated state of Buddhahood. Everyone who ever has or will attain enlightenment does so through receiving these highest empowerments from their tantric masters. In appreciation of this, you should prostrate to him 3 times each day to his enlightened faculties of body, speech, and mind. From these 2 stanzas, what is being said here or explained here is that the guru, who is the one who will give you the power or empower you to enlightenment, is someone who you should perceive as a Buddha, and who will actually liberate you to that state of Buddhahood. Hence, none other than the Guru should be the one that you should offer the 3 prostrations to daily, at least. Are you okay? 3 times each day with supreme faith you must show and respect you have for a spiritual teacher who teaches you the tantric path. By pressing your palms together, offering a mandala as well as flowers, and prostrating, touching your head to his feet. As a disciple, you must regard your spiritual teacher as an enlightened being. Even if from his own point of view he is not enlightened and you, his disciple, have gained Buddhahood before him, you must still show him respect and pay homage. For instance, Maitreya the 5th and the next Buddha of the 1000 of this world age, who now presides over Tushita Buddha field, became enlightened before his teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. To demonstrate respect for his spiritual teacher, Maitreya has a stupa or reliquary monument on his forehead. Likewise, Avalokiteshvara, the incarnation of the compassion of all the Buddhas, is crowned in his 11-headed aspect with the head of his teacher Amitabha Buddha, the one who presides over Sukhavati Buddha field. Thus, learning from a spiritual teacher should not be like killing a deer or to extract its musk and then discarding its corpse. Even after attaining enlightenment, you must still continue to honor your teacher who made all your achievements possible. This is to explain that even though you have attained something, or even like for this example, it talks about Maitreya, that he attained Buddhahood before his guru, but how he became attained was because of his guru. Hence, everything that we achieve as students is all because of our guru. Therefore, it is something that we need to realize, that we are nothing without our guru. Henceforth, we should always respect and honor our guru, no matter what, even though we have, if we have attained Buddhahood before our gurus. It is that very aspect of humility, that, and also that very aspect of compassion that our Guru gave us, that is why we achieve what we achieve.
And I suppose it's basic gratitude.
Yes, it is also gratitude. Okay. Those who hold ordination vows, if your spiritual teacher is a layman or your junior, prostrate in public while facing such things as scriptural texts in order to avoid worldly scorn. But in your mind, prostrate to your teacher. As for serving your teacher and showing him respect, such as obeying what he says, standing up when he comes, showing him to his seat, these should be done even by those with ordination vows, whose teachers are laymen and they are juniors. But in public, avoid prostrating and unorthodox actions such as washing his feet. One of the ordination rules is that monks and nuns should not prostrate to laymen. This is taken to mean that in public you should not show this type of respect for your lay teacher, as it might cause misunderstanding and scorn among those who casually observe. It is better to prostrate facing scriptural texts or Buddha images near him, while directing your reverence in your mind to your teacher. For example, the great masters Chandragomin and Chandrakriti often debated. The former was a layman, the latter was a monk. One day Chandrakriti invited Chandragomin to his monastery. He wanted all the monks to form a procession, but the lay master objected that the local townspeople would find it strange. Chandrakriti told him not to worry. He placed a statue of Manjushri on a high throne, and in the procession had a monk carry it directly before Chandragomin. All the people thought that this ceremony was in honor of Manjushri, the manifestation of the Buddha's wisdom, and thus the monk avoided any bad feelings. Although restraint and indirect means of showing respect are often called for out of consideration for others, in private, a disciple must follow all the proper procedures of commitment, no matter what the status of his spiritual teacher may be. However, general respect, such as rising when he comes, must be shown at all times. On his own part, a spiritual teacher should always be humble, never arrogant or pompous, thinking himself great, worthy of honor. Para Rinpoche, one of the most realized disciples of the senior and junior tutors of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, always kept a scriptural text by his seat. Explaining why, he said that when people would come to visit him and prostrated, at least they would gain some merit from showing respect to the scriptures, since he himself had no qualifications. From this stanza, it clearly explains that the actions that we do in reverence to our Guru, in private, we must and we should respect our Guru with humility, such as prostration or showing him to his feet or standing up and things like that. But perhaps in public, we need to consider the situation, and if the situation is such where people's minds may be disturbed or there might be some misunderstanding, we can always find other ways to curb
show respect.
To show respect, yes. And in the commentary it's also explained that why gurus are always humble, and now we know that why gurus always have like a Buddha image next to them or a scripture and all that, because they always show humility, and they will never say that they're enlightened or they should be prostrated.
But this only applies to lay teachers, correct?
No, it says here even among
like
Pari
prostrating in
Rinpoche.
public. Because it's okay to prostrate to
No,
a teacher
not-
who is a monk.
No. That's why sometimes we do experience whereby Rinpoche would tell us, don't prostrate, when there are certain people in the crowd which he gauged that the mindset may not be ready for this sort of thing. Yeah, so it really depends on the situation. But yes, in our heart, in our mind, we do the
So
prostration.
it's not about ourselves, it's about how we project such a thing to others.
Yes, correct. Okay. In order for the words of honor neither the spiritual teacher nor the disciple to generate, there must be a mutual examination beforehand to determine if each can brave a teacher-disciple relationship. At tantric empowerments, many sets of vows are taken never to abandon the practices and procedures essential for spiritual progress. The disciple also pledges his word of honor never to transgress these vows, such as always to visualize his spiritual teacher as inseparable from the meditational deity into whose practice he has just been initiated. Such deities, as well as teachers, share the same enlightened nature as all the Buddhas, differing only in the physical aspect they manifest. The teacher too has previously pledged his word of honor never to disclose the tantric secrets to those who are unable to understand and keep them. Just as the milk of a lion should not be kept in a clay pot, so the profound and powerful methods of the Tantra should not be entrusted to those who are not ready. If having taken such vows, either the teacher or disciple should allow his word of honor to degenerate, it will be impossible for either to attain any of his goals, and very serious unfortunate consequences will follow for both. Therefore, it is extremely important for there to be a mutual examination before the teacher and disciple before they enter a formal relationship. In ancient times, in order to receive empowerment, a potential disciple would have to ask over a period of 3 years. An initiation was not at all something casual. By making the disciple wait so long, the teacher impressed on him the seriousness of entering the tantric path, tested his commitment, and ensured that he was properly prepared. Often a spiritual teacher would make a disciple wait even longer before agreeing to teach him anything. He would repeatedly test his character, and only when he had understood him well would he accept him as his disciple. The disciple also must test his potential teacher and determine if he is fully qualified. He must be confident that he will be able to devote himself fully to his spiritual master before entering a formal teacher-disciple relationship. You have complete freedom of choice. But once such a bond has been established, these teachings on your way or interacting must be followed with a wholehearted commitment. This explains the guru-student-disciple relationship and how we should not be, how these days where people just go out and just get initiations or get a guru without thinking much, without checking for themselves whether they can commit to the guru, and also for the guru to check the student out to make sure that it's a suitable vessel, especially for tantric teachings, because it's very dangerous. But
this only applies to people who have taken refuge.
No, it is before you even take refuge. You should, because a guru-student, guru-disciple relationship is very serious. It's not like, it's even more serious than a marriage. So like if we are going to get married, we would, check the person out first, or even before marriage, we would, before going into any relationship, we always check the person out first.
Before you go dating.
Yes. So it's but this is of course far more sacred, and we're talking about enlightenment. We're talking about going into a path whereby you are telling yourself you want this because you want to gain enlightenment. So it's even more important that you know what you're getting yourself into, and you know the guru, and the guru knows you, and the guru has definitely checked you out. It is something very, very sacred. So it is not like how these days we hear a lot of people just going to different centers or different monasteries or meeting this and that guru and just getting initiations. But
surely these people that go and get these initiations, they have not established a guru-disciple relationship. They just go to the centers and it's like a public initiation. So there is no
There is no. It's very
yeah.
superficial. It's not a real commitment.
So what happens then? I mean, since the people that are actually going for the initiations, they don't actually have a guru-disciple relationship.
Yeah.
So what happens? Do those empowerments or initiations have any value?
Those empowerments and initiations does give them a blessing, but because of their mindset, they're probably not thinking, they're not in there thinking that this is a huge commitment. They're probably going in there thinking, oh, I'm going to get a blessing, or something like, okay, I'll just go there and have a look-see. So it depends on the motivation of the student as well.
So on that same token, what you're saying is, if a person that goes for such initiations or blessings, and if they choose to want to take the initiation seriously, they can, even without taking refuge or establishing a guru-disciple relationship further?
It's their choice. They can, but
will it have any effect?
I think it will have an effect, because that person believes that they are going for initiation, and anybody who goes for any initiation, who will take an initiation seriously, would have done some sort of homework. I mean, I don't think you would go for initiation just thinking, okay, I want to take this seriously, not knowing what is really an initiation. So most of the time, most people would just be going there for the sake of getting a blessing. But if the person really knows about initiation and is really making that choice that I want to take this real serious initiation, I would presume that that person would know at least, some form of understanding of what is an empowerment and initiation, because you do take the refuge vows during the initiation. You do create that kind of bond. You do actually have those vows, and you do have commitments to do a certain amount of
so it's
mantras.
Like an unspoken thing, almost.
Actually, it should be spoken, but these days, there's so many initiations going on, so it's like it's almost expected that you should know. So nevertheless, we should always do our homework first.
Sorry to digress a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there any difference between empowerments and initiations?
No, it's the same. Okay. So on the guru side, it's obvious. How we watch all these Chinese kung fu movies and sifu movies where they make their students wait for years or wait outside for a very long period of time before even accepting the disciple as a student.
Check them out.
Yeah, this is the similar case, because what the guru will be giving you is very serious. So it's to make you realize the value of what you will be receiving. In order for the words... Oh, sorry.
No, we're at number...
Yeah.
7.
No, to me it's 6. Because I just finished.
7.
A
disciple
sense
should not accept as spiritual teacher someone who lacks compassion, or who is angersome, vicious or arrogant, possessive, undisciplined, and boast of knowledge. A spiritual teacher should be stable in his actions, cultivated in his speech, wise, patient, and honest. We should neither conceal his shortcomings nor pretend to possess qualities he lacks. He should be an expert in the meaning of Tantra and in his procedures of medicine to eliminate back obstacles. Also, he should have loving compassion and a complete knowledge of scriptures. He should have full expertise of both sets of 10 fields, skills at drawing mandalas, full knowledge of how to explain the Tantra, supreme pure faith, and his sense of fully uncontrolled. In general, a Mahayana teacher should have the following 10 qualities. 1. Discipline as a result of his mastery of the training in the higher discipline of moral self-control. 2. Mental quiescence from his training in higher concentration, pacification of all disturbing attitudes and obstacles from his training in higher wisdom. 4. More knowledge than his disciple in the subject to be taught. 5. Enthusiastic perseverance and joy in teaching. 6. A treasure of scriptural knowledge. 7. Insight into an understanding of voidness. 8. Skill in presenting the teachings. 9. Great compassion. And 10. No reluctance to teach and work for his disciples regardless of their level of intelligence. A tantric master must have even more good qualities as listed in the text. Most important is that he be an extremely stable person with his body, speech and mind totally under control. He should be someone in whose presence everyone feels calm, peaceful and relaxed. Even the mere sight of him brings great pleasure to the mind, and his compassion must be unsurpassable. There are 2 sets of 10 fields in which the spiritual teacher must be a complete master. The 10 inner ones are essential for teaching the yoga and anuttara yoga classes of tantra, which stress the importance of purifying mainly internal mental activities. These are the expertise in 1. Visualizing wheels of protection and eliminating obstacles. 2. Preparing the concentrating protection knots and amulets to be worn around the neck. 3. Conferring the vase and secret empowerments, planting the seeds of attaining a Buddha's form bodies. 4. Conferring the wisdom and word empowerments, planting the seeds of attaining a Buddha's wisdom bodies. 5. Separating the enemies of Dharma from their own protectors. 6. Making offerings such as of sculptured tormas. 7. Reciting mantras both verbally and mentally, that is, visualizing them revolving around his heart. 8. Performing ruffle ritual procedures for forcefully catching the attention of the meditational deities and protectors. 9. Concentrating images and statues. And 10. Making mandala offerings, performing the meditational practices, and taking self-initiations. The 10 external qualities are required for teaching the Kriya and Charya classes of Tantra, which stress the importance of purifying mainly external activities in connection with internal mental processes. These are expertise in 1. Drawing, constructing and visualizing the mandala abodes of the meditational deities. 2. Maintaining the different states of single-minded concentration samadhi. 3. Executing the hand gestures mudra. 4. Performing the ritual dances. 5. Sitting in the full meditational position. 6. Reciting what is appropriate to these 2 classes of Tantra. 7. Making fire offerings. 8. Making various other offerings. 9. Performing the rituals of a pacification of disputes, famine and disease. 8. Making the various other offerings. 9. Performing the rituals of A. Pacification of disputes, famine and disease. B. Increase of lifespan, knowledge and wealth. C. Power to influence others. And D. Wrathful elimination of demonic forces and interferences. And 10. Invoking meditational deities and dissolving them back into their appropriate places. It is not sufficient for a tantric master merely to know how to perform the superficial actions of these above rituals. He must actually be able to do them. For instance, when consecrating an image of a meditational deity, he must be able to invoke the actual deity and place it in the image, not merely recite the words of the accompanying text. If you take as your spiritual teacher a master with all these qualities and powers, and he accepts you as his disciple, you must commit yourself fully to him. Although it is possible that out of delusion you might disagree with your teacher, Never show him disrespect or despise him from the depth of your heart. I think all these whole thing that we've just read in the commentary are telling us what a qualified spiritual teacher we have, and that if we actually encounter such a precious spiritual guide, that we must fully respect our spiritual guide without any doubts, and whatever happens, whatever may be, we should always trust and respect and believe our Guru wholeheartedly. I mean, these are not, it's definitely not an easy task to be a spiritual guide, you know.
Look at all this. I mean,
There are 2 sets of 10 fields.
and that's probably not all.
Yes, yeah, it says it's not all.
That's probably just the bare necessities.
Yeah.
So it really goes to show that
Being a
when-
guru is not,
Yeah.
definitely not an easy task.
And we shouldn't doubt our guru, thinking we know more than our guru, because this clearly shows he or she definitely knows more than us.
Yeah. And even if you do think you know more, you should still respect your guru, and should still be appreciative and to show gratitude.
Well, if we think, as it says here, if we think we know more, it's merely
Yeah.
a delusion.
Yeah, that's right. Having become the disciple of such protecting teacher, should you then despise him from your heart, you will reap continuous suffering as if you had disparaged all the Buddhas. If you are so foolish as to despise your teacher, you will contract contagious disease and those caused by harmful spirits. You will die a horrible death, caused by demons, plagues, or poisons. You will be killed by wicked kings of fire, by poisonous snakes, water, witches, and bandits, by harmful spirits, savages, and then be born in a hell. Never disturb your teacher's mind. Should you be foolish and happen to do this, you will surely boil in hell. Whatever fear hells have been taught, hell of interrupted pain, it is clearly explained that those who disparage their teachers will have to remain there a very long time. Therefore, exert yourself wholeheartedly, never to belittle your tantric master, who makes no display of great wisdom and virtues. As your spiritual teacher is a Buddha, despising him is the same as hating all who are enlightened. The state of Buddhahood is one of complete liberation from all suffering, ignorance, disturbing attitudes, and obstacles. It is the attainment of all qualities, complete perfections, and total omniscience. Despising or belittling such a state by disparaging your teacher, you cast yourself in the opposite direction from happiness and freedom. Having contempt for wisdom and liberation, you gain instead bondage and pain. Such tormented states are what have been described in the scriptures as the various hells. Thus, there are great dangers in entering a teacher-disciple relationship. Your tantric master may be the one who has given you empowerments, a tantric discourse, or even instructions on mandala drawing, as he has no pretensions and is never boastful. He will always hide his good qualities and never hesitate to admit shortcomings. If you do not recognize such traits as indications of his perfection, humility, and skillful means, you may make the serious mistake of belittling or seeing faults in him. Having established a formal bond with this spiritual teacher and through him entered a pathway to Buddhahood, you have then cast yourself into terrible suffering if from the depth of your heart you break this link. Therefore, you must have great awareness, for although a proper commitment to your spiritual teacher will elevate you to the full enlightenment, a breach of it will be your downfall. So this is an extreme example, but whereby full enlightenment it's the highest of all. It's very positive. If this person that we call our guru can bring us to full enlightenment. So breaching or having wrong views, or like it says here, disparaging or having doubts or making or disturbing the Guru's mind, all this has consequences of negative effects. If this person can bring you enlightenment, then the consequences of your negative mind can also propel you to actually degenerate the opposite. So,
but that's not to say that the Guru is causing that.
no,
You are
it's
causing
it's
it
not the
yourself.
Guru. It's more on the student itself. So it is. That's why it is a very serious relationship. That's why in the very beginning it talks about how the student and disciple needs to really check each other out. Why? It's because of one of the reasons because of this. Because if you just merely accept the Guru because the Guru was nice to you, the Guru was your friend, but what happens when the Guru starts to press your buttons or show you the nature of your mind which you do not like? Are you stable enough? Is your mind strong enough to accept and understand and be humble about it? Or do you have negative thoughts? For every negative thought that arises in the student's mind, you actually create the causes for yourself to experience suffering or create a cause to be away from your Guru. This is what is stated here. So it is a very, let's say, thin line.
Well, I think if one were to look at it from a perspective of a guru-disciple relationship, whereby it stated earlier that as much as the student needs or disciple needs to check out the guru, the teacher,
Should
the guru
also
in turn does the same to see whether a disciple is ready. So hence, my personal feeling is, if you have been accepted as a student or disciple, you would certainly have those qualities
or potential.
So if a student disciple sort of says, sort of halfway down the line says, oh, I can't make it, then it's actually saying the teacher is wrong.
Correct. Yes.
So whatever then happens to the student or disciple, it is not the teacher's doing.
Correct.
It is actually the student, through his delusions or whatever you
Yes.
call it, they don't push themselves to their full potential, and thus they actually don't make it.
Correct. That's
Also,
correct.
I think one important point that through these verses keep saying that if we despise a teacher, it's as if we have disparaged all the Buddhas.
Yes.
Because the teacher is equivalent to the Buddha who teaches the Dharma to us, and hence we should always respect the teacher like a Buddha and always think that the teacher is a Buddha.
It's because the teacher is, if you think about it, I mean, the Buddha statues and the Buddha images and all those things that we prostrate to and we make prayers in front, these Buddha images are not the ones teaching us, talking to us, helping us, caring for us. It is the being himself, the Guru, that is doing so. So even more so, and even more so, that it is the Guru that is actually your living, walking, talking, breathing Buddha in front of you.
I guess that's why in all our prayers we always start with Namo Guru Be.
Yeah.
Always before, even before the Buddha.
Yeah.
And in the Chinese tradition, when they refer to a high being, they always call them living Buddhas or Ho Fo. So it is also perhaps it's based on Ho Fo means
Ho Fo.
living Buddha.
Yeah. So yes, we are very fortunate. Okay, 16.
If
From the lack of awareness you have shown disrespect to your spiritual teacher, reverently present an offering to him and seek his forgiveness. Then in the future such harmless plagues will not befall you. Since, as a Buddha, a spiritual teacher will never hold a grudge, showing him disrespect cannot possibly offend or hurt him. The only one you harm is yourself. Therefore, if you repent and beg his forgiveness, he will accept what you offer with great compassion. Then, by the force of your faith, respect, and devotion, you need not experience great misfortune. The beneficial effects of a wholehearted commitment to your spiritual teacher and the dire consequences of a breach of it are not rewards and punishments from a godly master. They follow directly from cause and effect. Your spiritual teacher is the focal point for your practices leading to enlightenment. The more committed you are towards the state of perfection he represents, the closer you come towards his goal. This goal, despising him, can only take you further away into darkness and ignorance. So here it is again, it says very clearly, since a Buddha is literally your spiritual teacher, and he will have full compassion for his student, and if you have disparaged or you have disturbed your guru's mind, and if you sincerely ask for forgiveness, and if you sincerely pledge not to repeat it again, and you ask for forgiveness, of course the Guru will forgive you. The Guru will never hold any grudge to any student. It is all done out of great compassion. And it clearly says here that the only person that is really harming you is actually you yourself, the student themselves. So it's very clear here that what one must do if such negative mind or such actions arises, and how we can seek for forgiveness, and what we should do so that we do not create more harm, especially to ourselves. Because if it is the goal of enlightenment that we are trying to achieve, and this person which we call our Guru is the one showing us to that goal, that path to enlightenment, then if we create problems or create or disparage our gurus and have this sort of actions, disrespect to our guru, then it will obviously have that throwing effect whereby we create the cause to actually go more into the opposite direction, right, where it says here further away into darkness and ignorance. Because this is very nature of us being ignorant, that's why we even have negative thoughts of our guru.
I think another point that is very important here, it also mentioned about cause and effect. I mean,
karma.
Knowing that the Guru is very compassionate and forgiving, it doesn't mean that we can take for granted that, oh, because the Guru is a Buddha, whatever I have done, he will forgive me. Yes, he will. But the cause and effect always has to be, we have to bear in mind. Means whatever negative things that we have done onto others, especially to our Guru, there will be an effect.
There's always
the teacher
repercussions.
Forgives you, but because of karma, whatever that we have done, positive or negative, will have the effect in the future.
From this stanza, what it's trying to say is not so much what you just said. From this stanza, based on this stanza, okay, if from lack of awareness you have shown disrespect to your spiritual teacher, reverently present an offering to him and seek his forgiveness, then in future such harm as plagues will not befall you. It's what it's trying to say here, from what I understand, where it says in the commentary, the benefit effects wholehearted commitment to your spiritual teacher and the dire consequences of a breach of it are not rewards and punishments from a godly master. They follow directly cause and effect, which explains that is trying to explain to us that it is not the guru's fault. That's why, because the guru is some god or something, as you did something wrong, so there's punishment. But it's just trying to explain using karma, cause and effect, that because of your wrongdoing, this is the consequences that come back to you. So it's just a line of explanation for you to understand that every action that we do or we create has got karma. And especially in this case, because some people may read this and may think, oh my God, I'll never want to have a guru then, because what if because no one's perfect, and sometimes they have negative thoughts or they have doubts. For a student that may be new, if they read this, they might never want to even ever consider having a guru. So this is just a clear indication to explain that it is just a cause and effect. It's not a guru punishing you. Therefore, it says here, and it is not, rewards or punishment from a godly master. It is clearly your actions, your own cause and effect.
And I also think, for me, through this stanza, it's like it teaches you humility further. It's like if you've made a mistake, accept that and ask for forgiveness. And that to me is what it's trying to say. It's like teaching you that whatever it is, your guru will forgive you. And although you still have the karmic repercussions, it is just to say that it's to teach you humility. It's that if you make a mistake, you need to admit it.
Yeah.
And really repent.
Also, I think maybe we shouldn't see it as a hindrance, like, oh my God, I should not have a spiritual teacher because harms and plagues, But it should be like, we should be happy because this explanation is given, so that if you have done something wrong and you really take action to repent and apologize, the bad things will not happen to you. Instead of saying that, oh my God, if I did something wrong, this bad thing would happen. But this is clearly a very good explanation to let you know that the worst thing is not going to happen if you repent. I think it should be seen in perhaps a positive light instead of a negative hindrance to a guru disciple.
It is painting a very positive light. That's why it states here very clearly about the how we should not look at it as a reward or punishment from a godly master. So it is actually very clear and quite clear in commentary on how we should see it. Yeah. So it has been taught that for the teacher to whom you have pledged your word of honor to visualize one of your meditational deity, you should willingly sacrifice your wife, children, even your life, although these are not easy to give away. Is there need to mention your fleeting wealth? Such a practice of offering can confer even Buddhahood, zealous disciple in his very lifetime, which otherwise might be difficult to attain even the countless millions of aeons. Always keep your word of honor. Always make offerings to the enlightened ones. Always make offerings also to your spiritual teacher, for he is the same as all Buddhas. Those who wish to attain the inexhaustible state of Buddha's wisdom body should give to their teacher whatever themselves find pleasing, from most trifling objects with best qualities. Giving to your teachers is the same as making continual offerings to all the Buddhas. From such generosity, much positive potential is gathered. From such collection comes the supreme actual attainment of Buddhahood. Making offerings to your spiritual teacher as the representative of all the Buddhas is extremely important. Such generosity is symbolic of your total dedication to achieve Buddhahood. If because of miserliness or selfishness you hold back from giving what you find the most pleasing and offer only what you do not want for yourself, how can you promise to give yourself totally for the work of benefiting all sentient beings? Be anything but a farce. Without any attachments, you must be willing to sacrifice everything for your attainment of enlightenment through your teacher. The offering mandala symbolizes this dedication of your body, speech, and mind. And even the entire universe for this goal. If you are poor like Jetsun Milarepa, it does not matter that you do not have riches to offer. What is important is your state of mind and willingness to sacrifice anything for the sake of your spiritual teacher. Enlightenment and all sentient beings, the best offering, then it is your own practice. But if you have your wealth, you must never hesitate to use it for building up positive potential. Therefore, making offerings is not so that your teacher can become rich. On his part, the spiritual master should regard such offering as a tiger would look at grass. The point is to benefit yourself and ultimately everyone else by your total dedication. Great positive potential is built up from such practice, resulting in your attainments of the form body of a Buddha. If you can see the void nature, that is the lack of true independent existence of yourself, your teacher and what you offer, then you accumulate at the same time the insight or deep awareness that will result in your achievement of a Buddha's wisdom body. Thus, the supreme actual attainment of Buddhahood comes from making offerings to your spiritual teacher. Yeah. So this explains about making offerings to your guru and what are the benefits. And it also explains the stanzas of why you should always make offerings to your spiritual teacher. Because he is actually, if you're making offerings every day on your altar to your Buddha image daily, as a daily practice, we should even think that it is even more powerful and the merits is even more greater when we actually do it directly to a living Buddha. And who is a living Buddha? None other than our guru. So if we have wealth, if we have, if we're rich and we have wealth, and if we feel miserly or if we feel attached, or we put a limit to what we can and cannot offer to our guru, it's a clear indication of miserliness, and is also a clear indication of how much we value enlightenment. Because it says here, we should be able to willingly give anything or sacrifice anything for your own enlightenment. So if we're not rich, of course, like it says here, like Milarepa, it is the best thing that we can give, like what Rinpoche always say, is actually our practice, our total transformation. So whether you're rich or you're poor, it does not matter. It is the sincerity of your offering, how much you would give, all the way for, actually, if you look at it deep, it is for yourself, for your own enlightenment. It is not for the guru to make the guru happy and things like that, but it's for yourself to gain that merits, to gain enlightenment. So the highest form of merits that one can accumulate is through a guru. So he is like the platform for you to gain tremendous amount of merit. So what more to say? If enlightenment is truly the goal we want, therefore we should be able to willingly, easily give anything, whether it's in a physical form or it's in the form of our practice.
Well, I think one thing also to note is that I believe we don't make offerings with the intention of wanting something back. I think the whole point of making offerings is to teach us to give. It's a form of developing bodhicitta. It's to give without wanting something back. Although, of course, making offerings is very beneficial. It's to teach us to cut down miserliness and also to teach us basically to give.
Correct.
And I think that to me is the most important thing, as opposed to making offerings just because, I'm going to get a lot of merits, I think
Yes.
some.
But I think
Unfortunately,
if you
some people do have that mindset. I mean, it's not wrong.
it's
but
not actually
yeah,
it's not wrong, and it's actually very good that
Yeah.
if you do actually know that,
Yeah.
because when you do know that, you value the offering that you're giving to your guru more. I feel personally that it is not just like, offering and giving to any Tom, Dick and Harry, to any friend. It is an offering to guru, and why it is so it's something that you should feel very rejoiceful and happy to do, is because in actuality it's not just about giving. Definitely is about giving, but you should be very happy to do that giving, because the not maybe you do
But
not
you see,
know.
then you will get stuck in this thing of, I mean, then without proper sort of realization, you would then only give to your guru in the hopes of getting the merits, for your merit bank. But then in reality, you are still miserly. You don't give to the poor. You don't give to other people. Then it actually defeats the purpose, because even though you're accumulating merit by giving offerings to your guru, but if you see someone on the street and who's starving and you don't even bat an eyelid, that I feel it
You see, when you give,
because
when you
then
make
the
an
mindset is, I'm giving this beggar food. There's no merit.
actually,
You
no,
know, I mean-
I disagree, because when you make offerings, or you give, or you make such an action of giving to someone like your guru, who is an enlightened being, okay, without even thinking, you now naturally get the merits. Knowing it gives you that value of understanding.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
it.
it's wrong
But
to make
hang on.
offerings, yeah.
But when you get that merits, what does merits does? Merits actually help the person transform themselves, transform their mind. Naturally, if that person has good motivation, is pure motivation out of the giving, and the expectation is nothing, just pure motivation because he's my guru and I'm giving, naturally that person would, the results is that person would be naturally more giving to others as well.
No,
It's a natural cause and effect.
I differ, because, I mean,
Unless
just
the
playing
person
on semantics, if someone without proper realization, and they think, okay, if I give to my guru, I'll accumulate merit, so I'll keep giving to my guru. But without the proper understanding, or from the basis of why we're actually making offerings and why we're actually giving and what it actually teaches us to give. So in that sense, they could be, I'm not saying for everyone, they could be blinkered into thinking, oh, it's only better to give to my guru, let's not give to, I'm not getting as much merit if I give to someone on the street. That
I mean,
it
if
could
that,
have
yeah,
that
it
mindset.
could, yeah.
I'm
but
not saying it's for everyone,
yeah.
but I'm just saying, I think that's why I stress that the whole point of making offerings is for us to develop a sense of giving, and
Definitely, it is a start, especially for those who perhaps they are not very giving in the first place. That's why we see many examples or many real life teachings from Rinpoche, whereby there are certain people why he pushes to give more, to offer more, whereas there are certain people he actually don't say anything.
Well,
So
I mean,
it's actually a practice in itself.
yeah, but no, I don't think Rinpoche pushes people to give more. I think Rinpoche just
Encourage.
what's that word? Rinpoche would just test the student. Most often than none, Rinpoche will probably, having said, okay, you give me such and such, and if the student willingly accepts, most often than none, Rinpoche said, no, you don't need to, because it's after all a test to see how
generous and
generous
giving
they
you
can
are.
be. So-
Because it says here very,
don't-
very clearly,
Yeah.
actually, if we just read this, it's a very clear indication of how we should think when we make offerings to our guru. And, we don't have to dissect too much, because it is quite straightforward that making offerings to your spiritual teacher as the representative of all the Buddhas is extremely important. So knowing that with that kind of mindset that you're just not making an offering to a friend, it is very, that's what I'm trying to say, the value of making offerings to a guru, how valuable it is. You know, not from the aspect of, you know, you train yourself to be more giving. Of course, that comes. It's a side benefit, but the fact that it is, you know, we should look at it as wow, you know, amazing. You know, you have the opportunity to be able to do that. You know, to be able to give to a living Buddha. It's actually, compared to so many people out there who, yeah, they do charity, they give, but you know, they don't have a guru that they can give to. So in that aspect, I'm looking based on this commentary and explanation. Yeah.
I think what Andrew said may be true, but perhaps if someone like that, you know, is so miserly to the extent
Correct.
that, you know, when you learn Dharma, that you know that Dharma is about generosity and helping others, and you just are fixated to just say that, oh, I will gain more if I just give to my guru, so I don't give to any other people, and I don't care about any other people.
That is
it
definitely,
shows that
that
this
is
person
definitely.
is so miserly.
Correct.
So
Even though they'll be giving so much, it's
correct,
actually...
but
yeah.
if for such a miserly person to even just be consistent to offer to the guru and nobody else, it is still a good sign or improvement that, wow, this person can actually improve from, you know, not giving to anybody.
So
Correct.
Just
with that,
to the guru.
so with that motivation, I mean, does one actually accumulate the merits as well, as much as I don't know?
Yes, because it says here very clearly.
Even with that mindset.
Yes.
Even with the mindset of wanting the...
Yes, because what you want, what is it that you want? Merits. Why do you want the merits? Why? It's because we want to improve ourselves, transform, and enlightenment. And why do you want to do that?
No,
because
but then it counters the miserly person. If a miserly person
it's
says...
the motivation behind
if
it.
the miserly person, as she explained just now, who just wants to only give to the guru for the merits, but not understanding why he or she wants the merits for. I mean, in your scenario, you're saying a miserly person that knows what merits are for and they want the enlightenment, then it's a different story altogether.
Well, they can't just know about merits, obviously. It's
So
not
maybe
as simple.
to
It's
them,
very
merits
difficult.
Is like, if I give, I'll get more.
That is not merits. Then we cannot use the term merit. That is already wrong view. But having said that, because that's not merits already. That's already wrong motivation. But
That's
having
what I
said
was
that,
stressing, yeah.
okay, but then we can't say merits. But what you said, I mean,
What I'm
Rinpoche.
saying is the person will think he or she's getting merits by offering. So, but then the motivation is, if I give, I'm going to get more. So
like wealth or riches, you mean.
So
then that is not the motivation to obtain merits in that sense, and it's a wrong motivation.
So what
but yes,
then?
they still collect. They still collect very good karma. Yes,
from
still.
making that offering.
Yeah.
Even though the motivation is slightly warped.
Yes.
You still get the
Yes.
benefit of the good karma.
Correct.
Because your motivation is not for higher purpose of
And the
achieving
reason for
it.
that is
Correct.
because I guess whatever you give the
It's
teacher,
the
the guru,
object. Yes.
the guru in turn will use that
To make offerings.
offering to benefit people. So
Correct.
in that sense, the marriage
Indirectly,
of benefit
yes.
goes indirectly to that person.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Sorry, song and dance.
There 22.
Yeah,
Therefore, a disciple of good qualities of compassion and generosity, more self-control and patience, should never regard as a different spiritual teacher and the Buddha Vajradhara. Your spiritual teacher and meditational deities and Vajradhara, the form Buddha assumes in the Tantras, are all the same in nature. They are like a single person in a drama, changing masks and costumes and playing different roles. The same is true if you have many teachers. You must regard them all as Buddhas, differing only in the face he wears. The ability to see your spiritual teacher as not different from Buddha Vajradhara depends on your motivation. If you have developed an enlightened motive of bodhicitta, you are striving to become a Buddha yourself in order to be fully able to benefit others. The stronger this motive, the more the thought of enlightenment comes to pervade your mind completely. Thinking only of enlightenment and ways to achieve it, you will automatically be able to see your spiritual teacher in terms of this state, because nothing else will be in your mind. The more you wish to attain enlightenment, the clearer you see the necessity for your teacher to be a Buddha. Thus, with a strong compassion and wishing others never to suffer, you can commit yourself easily and with joy. Through the practice of the perfections of generosity, the discipline of moral self-control, patience and so forth, centered around your spiritual teacher, you will then be able to attain his state. So stanza 22, it talks about how the qualities of compassion, generosity, moral self-control and patience should never be regarded as different from as your spiritual teacher and from the Buddha Vajradhara, because actually your spiritual teacher is the Buddha Vajradhara himself. And if we have that right motivation and that right thinking of developing enlightenment purely in our hearts, then we will be easily be able to see that the Guru is the Buddha Vajradhara. And from there it says that from then, with the correct motivation, everything that we do, it will automatically be in such a way whereby we see our spiritual teacher in that state of mind. And if we are able to do that, we are actually able to be closer to that, one step closer in gaining that enlightenment. Because it says here, you will automatically be able to see your spiritual teacher in terms of this state, because nothing else will be in your mind. And the more you wish to gain enlightenment, the clearer you see the necessity for your teacher to be a Buddha. Thus, the strong compassion of wishing others, we become Buddha because of, we want to alleviate other people's suffering and to achieve bodhicitta, right? So through this practice, we are actually gaining one step closer to our spiritual path of enlightenment.
I'm sorry, just to digress a little, who is Buddha Vajradhara?
Who is?
Yeah.
Oh, in Tantra, there is a Buddha we call Buddha Vajradhara. Actually, if there is an image of Shakyamuni, I don't know if you've seen it, but inside the heart of the Buddha Shakyamuni, there is a Buddha in there. Have you noticed before? There's a certain painting.
Forms, yeah.
So, and this Buddha Vajradhara is in Tantra form. It will sometimes you will see him with a consort.
A manifestation of
Buddha
Shakyamuni. Okay.
So you should. It's placed in the heart, or the image is drawn whereby it's in the heart, because it's like a secret. Tantra is secret practice, so it's a secret a state of mind. So when you are entering, from what I understand, if you take tantric initiations, you are supposed to see your guru as one with Buddha Vajradhara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I think here it's apart from saying the motivation, which is the wish to attain enlightenment, it also gives us clue on how to achieve the path as well.
Yeah.
That it says, therefore, a disciple with the good qualities of compassion, generosity, moral self-control, and patience means not only must you have the motivation to achieve enlightenment, you must actually practice it.
Correct.
And how you practice it is through developing compassion, be generous, and be patient, and have moral self-control.
Yeah. Okay, 23. 3. If you wish never threat or even your teacher's shadow, because fearsome consequences are the same as destroying a stupa, is there a need to mention never step on or over his shoes or seat, sitting in his place or riding his mount? A stupa is a monument in which relics of a Buddha are kept. Like your spiritual teacher, it serves as a focal point for your generation and commitments to attaining Buddhahood. Destroying one and stepping on your teacher's shadow then are both acts of extreme disregard and disrespect for the state of enlightenment. Therefore, the fearsome consequences of both are the same. If you treat your teacher's shoes, seat, and the horse or vehicle he rides as ordinary objects, and presume to use them yourself or step on them, your arrogant attitude can only become a major hindrance to your attainment of Buddhahood. I think this stanza is just simply to highlight about how one should have full humility. I mean, opposite of arrogant attitude, full humility and respect.
Reverence. I mean, if a person were to read this for the first time, it would sound very archaic, but I think what it tends to explain is to show respect to your guru,
not to treat it like just a fleeting object, and it's just, I guess, another form of trying to create awareness, mindfulness, respect, humility, so that you don't simply just treat people without respect.
I guess in this day and age, people don't see this, but I mean, when this was written back then, it was probably like this. You would probably have students really avoiding your guru's shadow. Of course, in this day and age, you can see people sort of running around your guru in the hot sun. And oops, I'm not going to step in the shadow.
It's a bit difficult.
I think it's not the...
So literal.
I'm sure when this was written, it was close to literal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that how the times have changed and how that we, I guess, being called the degenerate age, how much we've degenerated to a point where even this we find ridiculous,
Yeah.
Also, I think this is a stanza that is explained so that although it's a normal object that your guru used, but it's for even a normal object that your guru used, you can use it to train your mind.
Yeah.
That you
it's a mind training thing.
That way. Yeah. That because if you want to see your guru as a Buddha, but then whatever his items and all this, you just treat it with disrespect, or you don't take care of all these items, then basically you're not treating your guru as a Buddha. So
it goes to show your mindset, your state of mind. Actually, it's actually if we think about it, our guru is very, very compassionate to use him as like a benchmark or something to help us to be more aware.
And I think it's also important to mention that it is not the guru that actually needs
this.
And also, I mean, if one were to reflect it on oneself, we look after our things well because it belongs to us.
Correct.
So I think.
What about other people's things?
It's how we use that selfish mind and project it onto other people's
property.
Yes. Okay. 24. A disciple having great sense should obey the words of the teacher joyfully and with enthusiasm. If you lack the knowledge or ability to do what says, explain in polite words why you cannot comply. It is from the spiritual teacher that actual attainments, higher rebirth and happiness come. Therefore, make the wholehearted effort never to transgress your teacher's advice. Obeying your teacher's orders and following his advice are more important than making countless offerings and trusting yourself fully to him. He will guide you along the path to enlightenment. If with haughty pride and stubborn closed-mindedness you think you know what is best for your own spiritual progress, how will you be able to learn anything from him? This does not mean that you should become a mindless slave or that your spiritual teacher can take undue advantage of you. As you are aiming for the complete freedom of enlightenment, there must also be freedom in the means of attaining it. You should never follow your teacher's wishes simply because you feel obligated or forced to obey. Rather, try to understand his intentions and aim. Your teacher will only tell you to do what is beneficial for yourself and others. What he asks may be difficult and its immediate purpose may not be obvious, but you should receive his advice joyfully and with deep gratitude for his concern with your welfare. Examine yourself honestly to see if you can follow his wishes. If there is no way in which you can comply, do not be rude or arrogant. Explain politely and with extreme humility what the difficulty is. Your teacher will not be unreasonable. As a Buddha, he is filled with great compassion. If, however, you can avoid transgressing his advice, this is best. Following the spiritual path as he directs, you can achieve not only the ordinary actual attainments, siddhi, of extra physical and mental powers common to non-Buddhists, but depending on your motivation, you can attain a higher rebirth, the happiness of liberation, or the supreme actual attainment of Buddhahood. I think this two stanzas explains clearly why it is very important for us to follow instructions or follow our Guru's instructions, and that will be, of course, the ultimate best if we follow Guru's instructions. But if we should really feel that we are unable to comply, and it is just telling us how we should go about explaining politely and not, instead of being arrogant, or disrespectful towards an instruction. So all instructions we have to bear in mind, it's given by our Guru, or all assignments, it's actually to design to benefit us, and it's not something that the Guru is concocting to make us suffer. It's actually a design to make us achieve more, to improve more. So with that in mind, we should always try our best to comply and do our best.
And also I think when people say that we should always follow our Guru's advice without question, that does not mean one needs to that does not mean you follow it without
blindly.
I mean, you follow it, but you follow it because you know your Guru has the best intentions for you, and even if you don't understand why he or she is asking you to do it, you follow anyways. And in a sense, it's not blind. I think it's more having the respect and the trust in your Guru. I think sometimes when I speak to non-Buddhists, they would say, "Oh, but we hear you're supposed to follow whatever your Guru says, without question," and they harp on the fact that you do not question. I think they fail to understand that the without question comes from your sense of trust and relationship with you, whereby you understand that your Guru will not harm you in any way. So you, in that sense, you trust. So it's not at all blind.
Yes. Yeah, because it says here very clearly, your teacher will only tell you to do what is beneficial for yourself and others. So what he asks may be difficult and its immediate purpose may not be obvious, which is most of the time, we do experience this, but you should receive his advice joyfully and with deep gratitude, for his concern is, with your welfare. So, yeah. Okay, 26. Guard your teacher's belonging as you would your own life. Treat even your teacher's beloved family and same respect you show for him. Have affectionate regard for those closely around him as if your own dearest kin. Single-mindedly think in this way at all times. Before Dromtompa studied with Atisha, he served another spiritual teacher in Kham. During the day he carried his master's children on his back, spun wool with his hands and softened leather with his feet. At night he tended his animals. He did all this with great joy, and although he was only a layman, Atisha appointed him to receive all the teachings he brought to Tibet. When Jetsun Milarepa was serving Marpa, he would throw himself in the mud and beg his teacher's wife to sit on him while he milked the cows. You must have such respect and devotion for everyone close to your teacher. Remember that he is a Buddha with equal regard and love for all. If you are jealous of his family, attendants, or other disciples, if you are possessive of his time and attention, this clearly shows that you do not sincerely believe him to be a Buddha. I think this verse simply explains that if you revere your Guru as a Buddha, then everything that's surrounding your Guru, all the people that are close to your Guru's family, disciples, you should treat with great respect. I think it's actually trying to make us have respect for others, and maybe, to not have this biasness. Okay, I only respect my Guru because he's my Guru.
But shouldn't respect come from, shouldn't one earn respect? Doesn't mean that one, I'm just being devil's advocate. Shouldn't respect be earned? Shouldn't...
I guess for the people surrounding the Guru especially, because it's talking about that here, the Guru's family and belongings. Because if your motivation was that, and if you see that your Guru is the Buddha, then everything that's surrounding him, it's of course of a Buddha state of mind. And because in the previous verse it also says how we should respect our Guru's belongings already. So we should treat everything that is surrounding the Guru with such same reverence. It is to train our mind to be, I feel it is really to train our mind to have pure thoughts.
And I guess the people around your Guru wouldn't be around your Guru if they were not, if they were not to be respected. Meaning, people around your Guru...
yes, I guess you could say that, but
I guess your Guru would not have these people around them otherwise. Is that fair to say?
We've heard stories of students that are not very nice to their gurus, or students who...
No, but we're not talking about students, we're talking about the ones close to him.
I think it doesn't matter on our side, the one practicing. I think we should just... I think what it's trying to tell us that we should try and remember that our Guru is our Buddha, and we should always regard everyone he loves, as equal to how we regard him. Because it says here very clearly, everyone close to your teacher. Remember that he's a Buddha with equal regard and love for everyone. So there's I guess it's to avoid this feeling of jealousy or possessiveness, in students. Maybe the student think that this Guru belongs to me. I think it's trying to curb that sort of
mentality or disharmony, you know. Because it says here, if you are jealous of his family, attendants or other disciples, if you are possessive of his time. I mean, I think we've come across, you know, a few students who may have this sort of mindset. I mean, it's just to watch your mind, you know, to treat everyone equally and even better your group, people who are close to your group.
I think it's also perhaps it's twofold. Like one is for us to train to respect other people.
Correct.
And number two is like what you said, you know, is for a student to be mindful and don't become possessive or think that that your guru is an object of possession. That, you know, because he is your guru, or because you make offerings to your guru.
Yeah.
Why is it that, you know, some people are close to your guru and you're
Why?
not? Or like, how come that, you know, why must I respect these people?
Yeah.
Or, you know, these kind of negative thinking.
Yeah.
Because if you commit to a guru and the rest of his disciples are actually your Dharma brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So you should not create negative thoughts of your Dharma brothers and sisters.
Actually, the feeling of, you know, you know, jealousy and it should not arise. But I mean, being human, we do see these kind of things happening. So it's just how should I say, a benchmark, or, you know, for you to be mindful and not, you know, act upon your negative emotions and perceptions.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I think some people might have the idea that,
I give so much.
I give so much
to my
I
guru.
don't get to see my guru, you know. Why is he spending so much time with these people instead? Or why is it that I'm not given the opportunity to spend time
I
with
want
my
an audience
people?
with a guru and I want it now, for example, because I'm the big sponsor or whatever, you know. That kind of, to watch that kind of mindset,
Well,
I suppose.
I think it not only applies to others. I think all of us, me included, have varying degrees of that. We do, you know, to a certain extent. That's, I think, inevitable, but it's how you control your mind, like you said, to not let that overcome your state of mind, which is important.
Yeah.
Because we are all, we all have a jealous nature in each and every one of us. We all, you know, it's just in varying degrees. So
it's just
it's
to
good,
watch.
It's good to accept that in us as well.
27. Never sit on the same bed or seat as your teacher, nor walk ahead of him. At teachings, do not wear your hair and top knot, or hat, shoes, or weapons. Never touch or sit before he sits down or he happens to sit on the ground. Do not place your hands proudly on the hips or wring them before him. Never sit or recline while he is standing, lie when sitting. Always be ready to stand up and serve him skillfully in an excellent manner. In the presence of your teacher, never do such things as spit, cough, sneeze without covering your head. Never stretch your legs in your seat, nor walk back and forth without reason for him, and never argue. Never massage or rub your limbs. Do not sing, dance, or play musical instruments for other than religious purpose, and never chatter idly or speak incessantly loudly within a range of your teacher's hearing. All these examples of improper behavior are prohibited not because your spiritual teacher will be offended. Buddhas cannot be affected by rudeness. It is because you wish to attain his state of perfection and have great respect for his achievement that you should not act in a coarse, arrogant, and inconsiderate manner. The customs outlined here are not meant to be unnatural and cruel restrictions. If you are sitting cross-legged at a discourse and this becomes uncomfortable, you of course certainly permitted to lift your knees or shift your position, but to sit casually with your feet stretched out towards your teacher reflects a flippant, disrespectful attitude. Receiving a discourse is not like attending a sporting event. It is not for your amusement, but for your attainment of enlightenment, that you are with you a teacher. Therefore, you must show him great respect and always be alert to his needs and comfort. I think, like it says here, it's very just simple guidelines of mindfulness, and not to, and to be able to control our body language, especially, and to show respect and humility in controlling our behavior more so. And because it's not a hindrance, it's just mindfulness, being mindful, and to realize that if especially if you're going for a discourse, whereby you're receiving an empowerment or an initiation, it's not something like it says. It's not like going to a concert or friend's party.
And I think also it's to train
our mind.
Train your mind, actually, to train your body as well. To sit in proper position and to go through the discomforts, because all this is nothing compared to what you would actually attain or will be learning in the higher tantras, because it's all about focusing on something. So I think these little things like sitting properly and it's all steps in building that control over yourself.
I also think the other aspect of it, I agree with you, but I also think it's also another aspect is to counter arrogance. Because we speak most of the time through our body language. We say a million things. How we portray ourselves, the way we stand, or because for example, it says never, place your hands on your hips when you talk. I think all these gestures, subconsciously we're never aware of it if we don't have we're not in this Buddhism, or we have I think we never think more to it, but actually it actually creates or could imply or shows people what kind of person you are, through your body language. You could show arrogance just by the way you stand, so I think all this also is a form of cutting down your arrogance, and also creating more awareness, and also making you more humble, and also thinking of others, how your body language or how you are affect other people's minds, or can affect.
What perception you give.
Yeah.
I think to sum up is the 3 points that was being brought out by both of you. That is, number one, if we're talking about attaining enlightenment, it is through the training of the mind. So before we can start training our mind, we can start with training our body first. And of course, the second thing is that
and it's a lot harder to train your mind than it is your body. So if you can't train your body, what chances is there for you to train your mind?
So then another point brought up by Joy is that these are for us to develop good qualities like awareness, respect, and
humility
and being aware. And the next thing is also not just we don't be selfish and think that everything is designed for our training to achieve enlightenment. We have to also think that what we do, it's also it projects.
It affects
and
others.
it will affect the projection of others towards our spiritual teacher and the projection of what the spiritual path and Dharma is all about.
Hence, developing body, speech, and mind.
Yeah.
So it's from everything.
Yeah.
31.
When your
spiritual teacher enters a room, stand up from your seat and bow your head slightly. Sit in his presence respectfully. At night or at rivers or dangerous paths, with your teacher's permission, you may walk before him.
In the direct sight of his teacher, a disciple with sense should not sit with his body twisted around, nor leaning casually against pillars and such. Never crack your knuckles, play with your fingers, or clean your nails. You must always be considerate of your spiritual teacher, as he is the one who will show you the way to complete freedom from all your suffering and how to be able to liberate others. He is more precious than anything else. If he is in danger, you must protect him. Do not sit back idly and proudly as if you own the entire world. I think it's similar to what we discussed just now, but That goes, it
it
goes
is
a step further in
yeah.
saying you need to protect your
yes,
guru,
correct. You know, and like what she said at the very end about how you must protect your guru by setting a good example, because other people may look at how the way you behave and they can have a negative impression of your guru. It's not about you all the time. It does affect.
And also I think if one really understands who and what a guru is, being a Buddha, he or she can't be calm.
Yeah, it's
So it's not
disrespecting
it's not
the
like
Buddha.
you're protecting the guru per se.
It's more
It's
the
more what
other
you are
people's mind. Yeah.
what you are actually protecting, the actual.
How much you
Yes,
value your teacher.
correct.
Yes.
Not that they
Not that he
need-
needs
Yes.
protection.
Yes. It's not that sort of protection. When 33. When washing your teacher's feet or his body, drying, massaging, or shaving him, proceed such actions with 3 persuasions and the conclusion the same. Then attend to yourself as much as you like. If you have the opportunity to help your teacher wash, such as when he is sick or old, shave his head, or in a way attend to his comfort, you will build up a great deal of positive potential. Thus, all such actions must be done with the greatest respect. Never satisfy or think of your own needs first. Your primary concern is with your spiritual teacher and your attainments of his enlightened state. Only afterwards should you care for yourself. I think here it's just explaining that if you have the opportunity to serve your guru in whatever way, in whichever way, you should feel honored and happy to do so, because it's good, it's very good. And never to think that, but I have something on, I've got to do this first. And I think that's what it's trying to say, to not, think of yourself, but always think of others. And of course here we're talking about our guru here. It should be priority. Because what do we want at the end of the day? Enlightenment. That is our priority, in that sense.
Yes, and once again, to reiterate, your guru is
A
because
benchmark.
of the embodiment your guru represents. It is what the reverence you have for your guru and how you show respect should be translated into your life, because inevitably this is what we're training ourselves to do.
Correct.
To have that kind of respect for every
Everyone.
sentient being.
That kind of qualities that we are developing. We actually, if we think about it, it's actually using the guru to develop qualities,
Correct, yes.
in us. And the guru is very
It's-
compassionate to
it's
use
no
himself.
point showing respect to your guru only,
Yes.
and then you're cussing
Correct.
and showing disrespect to others. Then
Correct.
it becomes,
Defeats the purpose.
Like what Andrew said is true. It's like if you are a Mahayana Buddhist and your path of practicing is to be able to relieve sentient beings' suffering, you have to start with one sentient being at least.
Yeah.
And you start with your guru, and putting your guru's needs before you is not because the guru is so important or the guru needs you to attend to his need. It's more that we practice starting with this person so that we put this person's need before us, and
Yeah.
then we can grow and practice on more people, like the people around us, and then later, let's say, to more people and all sentient beings.
Yeah, we use it's almost like you can say we're using our guru to train ourselves, and the guru is very humble to allow us to do that.
Or rather, the Guru is allowing us
to do that. Yeah, very humble to practice. Yeah.
All of the above, actually.
Okay.
34.
Should you need to address spiritual teacher by his name, add the title Your Presence after it to generate respect for him and others. Further honorifics may also be used. Once when Je Tsongkhapa was giving a discourse to a few disciples in a retreat house above where Sera Monastery later was built, Kedrup Je came to meet him for the first time. He asked a nun living nearby where the Venerable Tsongkhapa could be found, and she ran off without saying a word. She rinsed her mouth, lit a stick of incense, and then replied, "My gracious Venerable Abbot, His Presence Je Tsongkhapa resides over there. If your spiritual teacher's name is Rinchen Dorje, you may refer to him when speaking to others as my spiritual master, His Presence, the Holy Venerable Rinchen Dorje. At least some respectful title must be used. It is extremely crude, arrogant, and grating to address, refer to, or write about your teacher merely using his personal name. Your spiritual teacher is not your childhood playmate, but a Buddha leading you to enlightenment." I think it's again to counter, arrogance and to create mindfulness in you, so that you actually create this this attitude of respect for someone like your guru. I think it's not meant to like make you feel how do you say, like, wow, the guru is God or something.
Also, I think these are very similar, but I think they
just to show
they show different varying degrees. This is, I think, more
qualities
in what the guru represents, and to show the value of the guru. So
correct.
It's how you value
your teacher.
Yeah. To a point where even merely addressing him should be with reverence.
Yeah. When asking for your teacher's advice, first announce when you have to come. With palms pressed together in your heart, listen to what he tells you without letting your mind wander about. Then when he has spoken, you should reply, "I shall do exactly what you have said." After doing what your teacher has told you, report what has happened. Polite, gentle words. Should you laugh or cough, clear your throat and yawn in his presence, come out your mouth with your hand. Never waste your teacher's time by coming to him merely for idle chatter. After making prostration 3 times, announce the purpose of your visit directly. Ask your questions in a straightforward manner with extreme politeness and humility. If your spiritual teacher gives you advice or asks you to do something, examine yourself to see if you can comply. If you cannot, then excuse yourself and explain why. Do not promise to do something and then go back on your word. The consequences of such disobedience and negligence are very serious. But if you can comply, tell him you will do what he says. Keep him informed of your progress, and always report in the end what you have done. I think it's quite straightforward. From here, it's like the assignment.
This to me teaches you how to be polite. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's common sense when someone asks you to do something, especially someone you have great reverence for, politeness plays an important role. So.
But it also talks about here whereby which is quite interesting, and I find if you cannot. If a spiritual teacher gives you advice or asks you to do something, examine yourself to see if you can comply. If you cannot, then excuse yourself and explain why. Do not promise. I think this is very important to know. Do not promise to do something and then go back on your word. I think this is
why one does that is to get away from that.
Or just to look
that stressful situation. You just say, okay, I'll do it, whatever, and then later down the line you can't fulfill it. That's even worse than
it's like breaking your promise.
Yeah, that's even worse than actually stating out front politely as to why you can't
Yeah.
do it. With valid reasons, of course.
Or some people, by agreeing to do something, it may look good, that
Yes, for that
I
moment.
will do this for that moment, but then later, you can't
Without
do-
thinking
without
thoroughly,
thinking whether
yeah.
you can.
Or even not wanting to look bad, not wanting to look stupid, and you accept it, knowing full well you can't do it because
I think this also helps us to achieve integrity in being honest. You can or you cannot do. Yes is yes, no is no. Yeah, I think.
37.
Okay.
If
If you wish to achieve a certain teaching, request 3 times with palms pressed together with
kneeling before him
on your right knee. Then at his discourse sit humbly with respect, wearing appropriate clothing that is neat and clean, without ornaments, jewelry or cosmetics. Whatever you deserve your teacher or show your respect should never be done in a good mind. Instead, you should ever be like a newlywed bride, timid and bashful and subdued. In the presence of your spiritual master who teaches you the path, stop acting in a conceited, conclusive manner. And all your improper actions like these, examine them yourself and discard what is wrong. It is improper for a spiritual master to teach without being specifically requested. He teaches to benefit his disciples, not to display his knowledge. Therefore, it is important to make such requests in a proper, formal manner. However, do not try to pressure your teacher into teaching you something too advanced for your level. He will judge when you are ready. Do not haughtily order him to do what you think is best. When attending his discourse, remember it is not a social event. The only reason you are there is to learn how to attain enlightenment for the benefit of others. You have not come to show off your wealth or beauty to others, so do not adorn yourself like a peacock. Also be aware and considerate of the social customs of those around you. Never dress in a manner offensive to others that would cause their minds to become disturbed. But neat, clean, and ostentatious, sitting with great respect for your spiritual teacher. When serving your teacher, do not be childish. Whatever service you do or offerings you make are for you to attain enlightenment through its merits. Do not do such things so that you can boast to others how pious and devoted you are. No positive potential is to be gained from arrogance. Do not serve your teacher with haughty pride as though you were doing him a great favor. He does not need your help. He is a Buddha, but you need his help very much. For by allowing you to perform small tasks, he is giving you a great opportunity to build up positive potential. Therefore, remember his kindness in allowing you to serve him. Also, do not act in a coquettish manner, flirting with your teacher as though you could win his favor in this way. Your spiritual teacher is a Buddha with equal loving compassion for all. He will not be impressed by your frivolous behavior. Well, I think this again teaches us how we should treat our Guru, and also even up to considering when we attend his discourse, how we should dress, how we should act. And it says here, we should consider how we are going to be, disturbing or not disturbing other people's mind, with the way we act, with the way we dress. So it's a guideline, literally, of being mindfulness of our body, speech and mind, and how it affects others, and how we should be very mindful of this, especially in the presence of our Guru. It is again to train us to a positive potential, as it says, so that we do not, take for granted of our fortune, how fortunate we are to even have a Guru that we can practice being mindful towards. It starts from there.
Also from the stanza, it says that we should not, be arrogant. So maybe these are guidelines for people who are perhaps, wealthy, or they should not come to show off their wealth, because you're here to have a teacher
Correct.
to develop
Humility,
positive potential
humble.
and
I think,
spiritual.
I think these should not be taken literally. I think they are just merely guidelines
To
towards,
train.
what you said. I think it's the motivation behind it, because certain cultures, like I believe in Indian cultures, when you're meeting the guru or or a teacher, you put on your Sunday's best.
Your best,
You know,
yes.
all your jewelry or your great saris, and that, I don't think it's meant to display your wealth, but it's to show
Show respect.
So I think
Different cultures
once
may
again,
have.
these stanzas should not be taken too literally. It is meant as guideline and a motivation behind it. So that's why when you read, it should be clean without ornaments, jewelry or cosmetics. It all
Different
depends.
cultures.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
cultures. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think this one is interesting about, whatever service you do or offerings that you make is for your attainment, for enlightenment, and do not do such things so that you can boast to others how pious and devoted you are. I think that's
And
very
think
important.
Don't think that you're doing
A favor.
your guru,
A favor.
teacher
Yeah.
a favor. In actual fact, it's the reverse.
Yes. Okay. If you are 40.
If you
You are requested to perform a consecration or initiation into mandala fire offering ceremony or to your disciples to deliver a discourse, you may not do so if spiritual teacher resides in that area unless you receive his prior permission. Whatever offerings you receive in performing such rites and
known
consecration
as opening the eyes, you should present all these
to
to your
spiritual
teacher.
teacher. Once he has taken portion, you may use the rest for whatever you like.
In
The presence of the teacher and disciple should not act as a spiritual teacher to his own disciples.
and they should not act towards him as their spiritual teacher.
For before your own teacher, stop your disciples from showing respect, such as rising when you come or making prostration. Even when you have become a spiritual teacher yourself, you must still keep your wholehearted commitment to your spiritual teacher. If you are requested by your own disciples to give an empowerment, a discourse, and so forth, and your own teacher resides in the same area, you should ask him first if he can give this in your place. If your teacher cannot, then only with his approval may you perform such ceremonials yourself. If your spiritual teacher lives far away, you should write to him for permission to accept a disciple or give any teachings. You should not act independently with pride as if you were a great and holy master, but always in deference to his advice. Especially in the presence of your teacher, you must allow your own disciples to show you respect. You must at all times be humble. Therefore, any offerings you receive should be taken to your teacher as a sign of your respect. He will take a token and then give them back. He has no greed for your offerings, but you must always have him foremost in your mind. Once Rinpoche was living in the same town as his teacher, Tsem Rinpoche. As he was noted for being very handsome, many devotees came to him and presented him with a great deal of offerings. He thought, if I have been given so many offerings, then surely my teacher has received at least 3 times as much. He went to his master and said, "Didn't we receive a lot of offerings today? Let us share them with all the other disciples." But his teacher showed him that all he had been given that day was a piece of meat, a cheesecake, and some butter. Rinpoche felt very embarrassed and that he had received more offerings than his teacher, and told him he would leave town immediately. He asked permission to go to Lhasa to see the famous Buddha image. Tsem Rinpoche replied, "If you see your teacher as a Buddha, what use is it to look at a statue?" He then asked if he could visit the ancient monastery at Samye. Again his teacher answered, "When looking at the spectacle of your mind, what use it is to see a building?" A third time, he requested to make a pilgrimage to Lodrak, where his teacher's master, the great translator Marpa, had lived. His teacher only said, "If you meditate on my master's teachings, what good it is to see his house." Tsem Rinpoche told him not to try to do too many things, but to go into meditational retreats in order to gain more confidence in his practice. And this is what Rinpoche did, for he realized that it is not proper for a disciple to receive more respect and offerings than his spiritual teacher. I think again it talks about training oneself to be humble, to show humility, and that this Rinpoche actually has so much humility and was so embarrassed that he received more offerings compared to his own guru, that he wanted to go away. And in actual fact that the teacher is never upset or never jealous or never is bothered whether if the student's done well, then the teacher would rejoice. I think it's trying to say, but on your side, we should always remain humble and always watch our minds not to be too arrogant and think, wow, I'm better than my guru, something like that.
And I think also with this story, we realize that he really is very respectful of his teacher, that he tried many ways, just to leave town, and
because he felt so embarrassed.
He felt so embarrassed. He said that he requested 3 times. And
that shows, it really shows how humble he is, and how humble one should be in terms of viewing our guru. Okay, 43. Whenever you make an offering to your teacher, or whenever your teacher presents you something, disciple will present and receive it, using both hands and his head slightly bent. The diligent in your actions, alert and mindful, never to forget your word of honor. If fellow disciples transgress, correct each other in a friendly manner. All disciples who receive tantric empowerments from the same spiritual teacher become Vajra brothers and sisters. You should have great affection and regard among you, helping each other stay on the path. Never be jealous, proud, or compete with your fellow disciples. By correcting each other, you please your teacher and everyone benefits. If there is unity and harmony among Dharma friends, this will spread into the lives and others around you. So again, it talks about our actions and how we should never forget about not just our words of honor, but also how we treat each other, especially, your Vajra brothers and sisters, your Dharma brothers and sisters and all that. Because it actually creates an effect on other people, and it can overflow to those that is not your spiritual family or your spiritual. It shows how much one has transformed, literally. And if you can't practice within with your own Dharma brothers and sisters, what more the people who are not your Vajra brothers and sisters? I guess this is what it's trying to say. Yeah. Okay.
45.
If because of sickness you are physically unable to bow, your teacher must do normally prohibited, even without its explicit permission, there will be no unfortunate consequences if you do not virtuous mind. Wholehearted commitment to a spiritual teacher is not a fanatic practice. If you are ill and your teacher enters the room, you need not stand up and prostrate. If you have something to present but are too weak to extend your hand, it is permissible even for your teacher to bend down to your bed and receive it. This is not showing disrespect for your teacher, because in your heart you wish to do what is proper, but your physical condition prevents you. However, there are certain things for which there are no exceptions. You must never disturb your teacher's mind, boast, be arrogant, or disrespectful, no matter what the circumstances. Number 46.
Anything to add for part?
I think it's again it's trying to say that this is not this practice again is of guru devotion is not a fanatical one. We should never look at it as a fanatical one. First of all, and I'm like, why do we have such 50 stanzas of guru devotion and things like that? It's actually all designed to train us to develop positive potential qualities in us if really we are here to gain enlightenment. So these are the qualities you have to gain enlightenment. So all these so-called stanzas or rules or advice is given here strictly to make us realize how we can develop our good potential, or give us a guideline to develop that good potential, because we never had one. So this is like a training of the mind that with such guidelines and with such understanding, you tend to quicken your potential.
But you know what? I mean, reading on this, we're point 45. It is, if you look at it on a more deeper level, it is ethical common sense.
Correct.
At the end of the excuse me.
Also, I think it's also to tell you that this practice, like what you said earlier, maybe someone read and say that, oh, this is something
So
very
scary,
strange,
yeah.
or it's very scary. But like all these are put in to tell you that there are logics behind all these, and it's not a fanatic practice.
And why do we go through all that? I mean, why bother going through all this? Because at the end of the day, I always think that it boils down to what is your motivation for having a guru, for wanting a guru-disciple relationship. So it does go back to the real motivation behind it. Because with the wrong motivation, that's when you will find it very difficult to follow these guidelines. I feel, if someone who wants to have a guru because I don't know, they just want, yeah,
it's a trend.
Yeah, it's a trend. Okay, so 46. What need is there to say much more? Do whatever pleases your teacher and avoid doing anything he would like. Be diligent if both these. Actually, attainments follow from doing what teacher likes, said by Buddha himself. Knowing this, try to please your spiritual teacher fully with our actions and body, speech, and mind. Everyone wants only happiness and never to experience any suffering. The source of these achievements is your spiritual teacher, for he shows you the path to Buddhahood, and by his living example as an enlightened being, inspires you to travel this path yourself. If you realize this, you will understand the importance of single-minded commitment to your spiritual teacher, and you will do only what pleases him. As the source of these teachings is the Buddha Vajradhara, you should put aside all doubts. Follow them with full conviction, and you can attain enlightenment. What pleases your teacher, then, is your practice leading to Buddhahood. Thus, your motivation for pleasing him should be bodhicitta and your wish to help others. You should not be prompted by worldly desires such as seeking your teacher's praise or fatherly approval. If you have not intentionally belittled,
Moreover, is your teacher.
You should not be prompted to worldly desires.
No,
Moreover, if your teacher scolds you, examine your feelings. If you have not intentionally belittled him or sought to annoy him, and if you have not responded to his scolding with anger or accusations that he is unenlightened, then you have not committed a breach of your commitment to him. If such a situation, it is totally inappropriate to become depressed, despondent, or feel self-pity and guilt that your teacher does not love you anymore. To do so is an indication of your strong ego grasping, which causes you to take his criticism too personally. Marpa scolded and even beat Jetsun Milarepa many times. This was not because he personally disliked him, but because out of compassion he saw the need for skillful means and were forceful. Thus, if your spiritual teacher is wrathful with you, try to see this as a method he is using to tame your mind and lead you to enlightenment. As a Buddha, how could he possibly hate you? I think this explains why a guru is wrathful, to his students, and it also explains how one should watch one's mind and not take things too personally.
Don't we all know this?
Yes, we do. And also that I think it says here quite clearly about how it is important to please your teacher's mind. It's not because the teacher needs to be happy or pleased by you, but I guess again it is like the act of making someone happy. But I guess in this sense that you're using again your guru as a guide to practice making someone happy. So if you can't do this practice of even making your own guru, who is supposed to guide you to enlightenment, happy, or pleasing someone of such that's so precious to you, happy, then how could you even think beyond that, or making someone else happy? If your guru is so important to you and yet we can't please him, we don't think of ensuring the guru's comfort or happiness or whatever comes first, how could we even possibly talk about enlightenment for others? I guess again it shows that how a guru is very, very compassionate to use him for so many of his students to actually try and develop good qualities in themselves. And it also talks about why a guru uses wrathful methods to tame the student's mind, and it just shows how much we are the ones that are full of ego, and we are the ones that are how should I say, delusional, or not able to let go or understand the deeper meaning behind the actions, that we become negative. So in this stanza, it explains how we should know by now, why a guru is wrathful towards us, or a certain teaching or a certain practice may be given to you in a unexpected manner.
I think this what you have explained is very good and related, for example, to the 8 worldly concerns. For example, it says here, like what you explained, like our motivation to please the teacher is so that we practice and we can help others.
Correct.
So here it says that thus your motivation for pleasing him should be bodhicitta, means later that we want to benefit everyone and your wish to help others. And it's not like in order to get praise
or be fanatic, or is a guru, like
and also
how a lot of people would
and then the opposite way is when you are being scolded by your guru, you do not think that my guru is not a Buddha now because he doesn't like me, he has no compassion and all.
It shows, I guess it actually presents your mindset. If we follow the 8 worldly concerns, it's like whether a guru praises you or scolds you, your mindset should be the same. I mean, if we use that as also another guideline, it is very true. It's the same whether he praises you or he scolds you. By right, a stable mind should look at it the same, neutral. So never.
Whatever your guru does is to benefit you.
Correct. So never be. And it also says that never be too happy when the guru praises you. Like some sometimes we're too very extreme. We're so happy that we did something great and the Guru is so happy with us and we're so happy. That also indicates your state of mind of how big one's ego is. Because if you can be so happy when someone praises you, you can be also so sad when someone scolds you. So it's very extreme, and we must understand that Buddhism is all about middle path. So yeah, it's again mindfulness. Okay. After a disciple has taken refuge in Triple Gem and developed a pure enlightened motive, he should be given text to recite daily how to abandon his own arrogant self-will and follow in his teacher's footsteps along the graded path of enlightenment. By studying the prerequisites of training, a wholehearted commitment to a teacher path common to both Sutra and Tantra, you will become a suitable vessel to hold pure Dharma. You may be given teachings Tantra. After receiving the proper empowerments, read out loud the 14 root vows and take them sincerely to heart. If, as a disciple, you have pure thoughts to benefit others, are humble, not arrogant or selfish, and have no rough manners, your spiritual teacher will first teach you what it means to take refuge. He will demonstrate the stability, direction, and meaning your life can be given by going for protection from all your suffering and confusion to the triple gem of the Buddhas, their teachings of Dharma and the Sangha community of those who realize them. He will then guide you gradually through the three principal paths of determination to be free, renunciation, and enlightened motive of bodhicitta, and a correct understanding of voidness. On the firm foundation of your refuge and bodhicitta vows, you can then be given these detailed teachings on a wholehearted commitment to a spiritual teacher. This text was written to be recited daily so that the disciples will not forget the important points of how to conduct themselves with their spiritual teacher. When your master has prepared you in this way for the tantric teachings, and you have become a suitable vessel, then it is proper for him to initiate you. He will then explain the tantric vows, and you must be sure never to transgress him. Buddha Vajradhara has promised that even if you do no meditation, but keep purely for 16 lifetimes the root tantric vows, you will thereby accumulate enough positive potential and eliminate sufficient obstacles to attain enlightenment. After receiving initiations, you will be empowered to follow the complete tantric paths as your teacher directs you through the development of completing stages. Your success will depend on your commitment to him and the purity of keeping all the vows. Thus, a proper wholehearted commitment to your spiritual teacher in accordance with these teachings is essential throughout the path to the enlightened state of non-duality with your teacher, Buddha, meditational deity. Okay. Okay, this one is quite long. I think, okay, let's read the stanza again. By studying the prerequisites, training a wholehearted commitment to a teacher, and the graded path common to both Sutra and Tantra, you will become a suitable vessel to hold the pure Dharma. You may then be given such teachings as Tantra. After receiving proper empowerment, read out loud 14. I think this is like almost like a summary of everything that we've read. Yeah, 48 as well. It's connected, and it's a summary of everything that we've read.
I think what it says here that first of all, you to receive the teachings, like for example, it says
Tantra.
here to receive Tantra, which is a very precious practice that even without doing meditation, but you just hold on to the root tantric vows for 16 lifetimes, you are able to achieve enlightenment. So for such a precious teaching, that in order to receive that,
To gain such a precious teaching, we need to prepare ourselves actually
So
to be a suitable vessel. I think that's what to receive it. That's the sum of it. And how do you prepare yourself to be a suitable vessel? Is first of all, it's through these guidelines, which it says quite clearly here, to actually read this every day. 50 stanzas of Guru devotion. And to not lose sight of how we should, I think, appreciate the fortune that we have found a Guru that can lead us and show us the path, and never to take it for granted.
Yes.
And
it says that you have to study the prerequisite training and the wholehearted commitment to a teacher, and also the graded path, means the stages to the path in accumulating, let's say, practicing and learning the three principal path and the 6 paramitas, for example. But before that, we have to first study the prerequisite training, and also we must have wholehearted commitment to a teacher. And here, I think it is also a good point that was highlighted to show how kind our teacher is. Because here it says, if as a disciple you have pure thoughts to benefit others, are humble, not arrogant or selfish, and have no rough manners, your spiritual teacher will first teach you what it means to take refuge. Means you have to have all these good qualities, then your teacher will give you refuge. But we have to see that, in this degenerate age, all the teachers are very kind.
I think these are all mainly just guidelines for you to train your mind to be a suitable vessel. And I mean, like what we say, just it's mainly the key messages here. Don't take it too literally, but the whole 50 stanzas is actually to design for us to be able to develop qualities of actually becoming a Buddha. And how one can develop these kind of qualities is through, well, first of all, you need to have a Guru to show you the way. So if you can't even develop these qualities with one's precious Guru, let's not even talk about, benefiting others, if we revere our Guru so much. So these are just, to me, these are guidelines to prepare for higher teachings. If we say we want higher teachings, what is the motivation behind wanting higher teaching? If it's not to become a Buddha to benefit others. So we have to get that very clear. And if that is what the goal is, that the student wants, then you need a spiritual guide to show you the way. So if you do have a spiritual guide to show you the way, then what must you start doing in order to appreciate what you have? Especially if you have a spiritual guide to show you the way. So to me, that is what it's trying to do. I mean, for us to be mindful, and also to show us how fortunate we are, especially in this day and age. This is not like 2,000 years ago, but now if we can find a spiritual guide, and if we have a spiritual guide that can show us the way, especially the path to enlightenment, how much so we should appreciate and show so much gratitude towards this opportune fortune that we have. So these are just guidelines. I feel these are important guidelines to actually train ourselves to be able to do more, to develop more. And 50.
As
I have not made mistake when writing this book,
adding my personal interpretations, may this be of infinite benefit to all disciples who would follow these teachers. By limitless positive potential, I build up sway in all sentient beings quickly attain the state of Buddhahood.
This concludes the 50 Standards of Spiritual Teacher by the great master Ashvagosha. It has been requested and translated into Tibetan by the monk translator and the great translator editor Rinchen Sangpo, together with the Indian abbot Padmakaravarma.